Hi everyone, welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. It's Joel and Andy at Codebreak, and today we are going to be talking about burying your head in the sand. Andy, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's a Monday, love a Monday. Get a bit bored over the weekend sometimes, which makes my family life not sound very good. I'm very happy at home, but I do like a Monday.
I was going to say you need to set some goals away from work to figure out what you like doing.
Quick social media tip for any business owners listening. If you've got staff who are always posting stuff about Fry-yay, happy hump day, as in like, oh, I've broken the back of the week, or they're miserable on a Monday, yeah, they're doing your business damage, man. When someone says Fry-yay, that basically says
B2B business.
My job is shit.
Fry-yay.
With a little picture of some McDonald's fries. Obviously, other fries will be available. So what we're talking about today, ostriches, I believe.
Yeah, so sometimes I wish I could do this, but there's a lot of businesses out there that you see it in the summer holidays, you see it at Christmas, you'll see it at year end. So a lot of businesses have their year end in April where they'll go, oh, I'll just leave that to May, or I'll just leave that to September, or I'll just leave that till January. And they kind of just bury their heads in the sand and don't do anything about it. And then particularly this year, when everyone got told to lock down, some people took that very, very literally. And
isn't there a really shit Sylvester Stallone film
called Lockdown?
Lockdown?
Don't know. There's quite a few shit Sylvester Stallone films, sadly.
Cobra, that's probably the worst.
Is it? What's the one about arm wrestling? That's pretty bad.
Lock Up. Oh, that's actually Lock Up. I think that's a pretty good one. He gets locked up, funnily enough, but the prison governor is played by Donald Sutherland. He's got a real beef with him, so basically gets him to like do a longer sentence, and he has to sort of escape and stuff. It's really good, actually. Lock Up, yeah. But Cobra is properly shit.
And what's the one about arm wrestling called?
Can't remember that one, but it sounds really bad.
I think it might be called Over the Top.
Oh, right, okay. Ravishing Rick Rude used to be an arm wrestler before he became a wrestler.
Yeah, I've seen a few YouTubes of people like Eddie Hall trying to take on professional arm wrestlers and failing miserably.
Seeing Ravishing Rick Rude live, highlight of my life.
So it sounds terrible when you use the prefix ravishing.
Ravishing.
If people don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, right, a wrestler called Ravishing. He had the best theme entrance song like ever, and he was just...
The best entrance song ever?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Well, who did then?
Wow, Stone Cold Steve Austin's is unbelievable. Wow. X-Pac is unbelievable. The Dudley Boys is unbelievable.
I hate X-Pac.
Yeah, I didn't ask you if you like the wrestler.
But
you can't say his name. So.
Steve Austin, the Breaking Glass, but then he's just a bit shit after that.
Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun.
And there's no singing.
I don't need vocals.
It doesn't start with, he's simply ravishing. Anyway, how do we get on to Ravishing Rick Rude from Ostriches?
I don't know. I was going to bury my head in the sand due to COVID and Christmas. Okay. And then you started talking about wrestlers, a particularly oily wrestler.
Lock Up. That's where we started. You said Lockdown, and I thought, oh, is that a really shit Sylvester Stallone film? But yeah, burying your head in the sand. I think marketing is an ongoing process. It's an evolving process. It's not something you switch on and off. Yeah, you might ramp it up when you've got a specific campaign to work on, absolutely. But it's there, keeping your business engine ticking over all the time, through the good times, during the bad times. In fact, to be honest, our marketing engine gets ramped up when things are good, because you never know what shit's around the corner. Then suddenly, lockdown hits, and our business was better protected than it might have been
if we not.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're seeing now, so we're recording this podcast end of October. So what we're already seeing is lots of business owners out there are saying, let's get Christmas out of the way. Christmas is going to be shit anyway, but we need to focus on it. Let's do my marketing in January, or let's sort the books out in January. Let's look at the finances in January. And they're burying their heads in the sand. Like a blind ostrich. Or in fact, an ostrich would be better,
wouldn't it? Doesn't need to be blind, does it?
A blind ostrich, I suppose, wouldn't bury its head in the sand because it can't see.
Doesn't need to, yeah.
Yeah, so I tried going off piece with my analogies there.
Don't start on analogies again.
Because I've only got one joke about analogies, and I'm sure I say it in every podcast.
So I guess this year in particular, this is a relatively sensitive subject because you've got businesses that probably have simply got no cash, or or have had to make really, really significant decisions in terms of their staff, in terms of their offering, in terms of their premises. And Andy and Joel are sat here saying, don't bury your head in your sand, you need to keep marketing your business. But the reality is that's true. And our rough model for our marketing is we spend a percentage of our turnover on our marketing all the time, basically. But then if we've got a campaign or something we particularly need to push, that's money on top. It's not. We don't eat into our marketing budget to kind of spoil our ongoing marketing. You know, our retargeting ads still run, our Google display ads still run, our Facebook ads still run. But if an example, if we wanted to start a printed newsletter, we don't scrabble around trying to find that budget. That's on top.
I guarantee you, Joel, we will always find the money. Whether that's I'm not saying I'd max out my credit card, but that money has to be found. And sometimes, maybe lockdown has hardened us a little bit, but unfortunately we can't spend time trying to help business owners whose default attitude is, oh, that costs money. Oh, I can't spend that. Oh, I haven't got the money. It's like, well...
It's the price of doing business.
I was going to say another analogy. It's not an analogy, it's just a sort of mediocre story. But a lady I saw years and years ago who couldn't commit to some... I think we were talking... This is about one of our other businesses. It was like a 50 quid a month spend she had to commit to, and she said she couldn't afford to. And I was like, well, okay, fair enough, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't be bothered arguing with her. And then I saw her coming out of the garage the next week buying a pack of fags. And it turns out she smoked 20 a day. I says, well, okay, so that's... Well, obviously I didn't say this to her, but so I was doing the maths in my head. And no, maths ain't my strong point. That's 70 quid a week. So, well, what's that times 4 then, Joel? So you can't spend 50 quid a month on your marketing, but you can spend almost 300 quid a month on your cigarettes. Now, I know someone's going to come and say, oh, but that's an addiction. Oh, you can't criticise someone. I'm not criticising at all. I'm just stating a fact. She prioritised smoking over a business. I can't help you.
Yeah, and, even using myself as an example, I've made this error where I've thought I've got a great product or service, I've put everything in place, I know I can deliver, but if nobody knows about it, it's worth nothing. And we meet a lot of businesses that when they, particularly startup businesses, are easy to pick on, where they get their business loan or they've saved up all this money to start a business, and the things that they focus their spend on.
What? I just told you about an example. This literally about 10 minutes ago.
Let's not use that one.
But what a client's done when they didn't need to. Oh, God. I wouldn't like to think the money involved for no discernible benefit.
It would have been cheaper, without giving too much away, to hire and make a set.
Yes.
And that, when someone says it would be cheaper to hire and build your own set, that what we're talking about must be significant figures. But cliche examples, business owners, they get their business loan in, or the bank approves their business plan, and the first thing they do is get a company car. There's a prime example of a business owner whose priorities are all wrong, or they outsource all the stuff that they don't like doing, rather than outsource all the stuff they shouldn't be doing. So they make their lives very comfortable, but then the business slows down straight away.
Do you know what my first company car was? I'm not sure it was a company car, but it was a Fiat Brava.
Okay.
Is there a Brava and a Bravo? You know more about cars than I do.
I think the Brava...
Which is the shittest? Whichever the shittest of the two are, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty much same for same.
I think there's a Brava and a Punto.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, it was definitely a Brava then. And it had a dent in the side. It wasn't even second hand. It was probably fifth hand. Changing gear didn't really do much. And in fact, when I got a mechanic to look at it and he drove it around the block and I said, oh yeah, I change up from second to third, doesn't really do much. He said to me, yes, it's flatter than a witch's tit. And I was like, okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for that analogy. There we go. There's an analogy for you.
Well, I remember when you got in my car, not the car I've got now. And,
was that a little white one?
Yeah, and the best compliment you could come up with was, oh, it's bigger than it looks.
Was that the Mitsubishi? Is it a Colt?
Yeah,
Colt,
I bloody love that car.
So let's face it, right? When we start up in business, you had your Mitsubishi, I had my witch's tits car, we were probably working 100 hours a week, networking, every networking group going. We were paying ourselves with petrol miles. And yet we'll meet business. You've talked about startup businesses. We'll meet startup businesses now who say haven't got any money. Okay, that's one thing to address. But when you say, okay, well, a compromise could be to literally work your arse off, their attitude is, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Breakfast networking? What, 8 in the morning? Oh my God, no, I like my sleep, I do. Well, fucking hell, how am I supposed to help you then?
I've got a good example here. This sounds like just counselling for me and you to vent about historic clients that have caused us trouble, but it isn't, I promise. We will get to some juicy bits. And you'll know as soon as I say. He used to work with a kitchen fitter. And he didn't just fit the kitchen.
Fit or designer?
Well, I was going to say he's a carpenter and joiner, so he could bespoke design kitchens and install them for you as well.
Okay.
But you would be talking, 30 grand plus for one of his kitchens.
Now I know who you're talking about. Okay.
So significant, I haven't got a kitchen that costs that. That's a significant kitchen. And at the time, I wanted to try and get £500 a month advertising budget out of the client. Not for me, just to help along website traffic and tick things through. And he said that he wanted 2 installations a month. So worst case scenario, 2 installations a month is 60 grand. Let's assume there's at least 10 grand in that for him.
Should we set up a kitchen business, Joe? That's exactly what I'm thinking now.
But couldn't find the 500 quid for marketing. Said, it's just not there. I've got no guarantees. I can't do it. Mm. And I'd probably invested at this point maybe 100 hours in this person, just a bit fresher than I am now. Mm. And the following week, he overtook me in a brand new Audi R8. and
that Tony Stark's car?
Andy, yeah, pretty much, yeah. And he pipped his horn as he went past.
Now, I haven't heard that story. Is it... Okay, well, I'll have to ask you afterwards if it's the guy I'm thinking of.
It is, yeah.
Really? I couldn't imagine him driving an R8, got to be honest. Wow.
Well,
wow, that's better than my packet of cigarettes story.
But how to make a marketing professional feel like nothing in 5 seconds.
God. So, yeah, you can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to spend money and spend time and ideally do it both. No, of course, you can't kill yourself forever. We talk a lot about scalability. Scaling's quite a trendy word in marketing now. But sustainability. So the 100 hours a week we were doing when we started up, that's simply not sustainable. But we need to do it to get the business off the ground. And we didn't have much money. But then when the money starts coming in, you then invest that into your business. Like I say, if you just go out and spunk it all on a bloody Audi R8, that's your choice, absolutely.
Yeah.
But don't come moaning to us when competitors set up, because if you've got a competitor and they're not going to wait till January to ramp up their marketing, they're spending now. When you try and turn your marketing engine back on in January, guess what? There'll be a dot in the distance.
Yeah. I did a podcast last week with a chap called Mike from Proofpoint in Minneapolis in America. And one of the things he talks to his clients about early doors when they're setting up marketing campaigns.
Minneapolis, that's where Ravishing Rick Rude's from.
Is it?
What a coincidence. You could have scripted
Mike?
That. Well, he's dead now.
I'll tell you a story about Mike in a minute.
Another wrestling tragedy.
How not to treat a podcast guest. But
oh, God, right. Not sure I want to hear this.
Oh, we'll put it on the pod. It's fine. Anyway, Mike said, so how quickly do you need this business to pay for itself? Is one of the questions he asks clients early doors.
Okay.
Because a lot of what they work with is software as a service. So, like Dropbox is software as a service, stuff like that. And everyone says, well, why? And he said, well, you'll say things like, do you know that such and such? So let's say, do you know that Hootsuite took 4.5 years to break even? And I'm not sure that's a fact, but just using it as an example. That his clients are always shocked by that because that most business owners going into business think it's going to pay for itself instantly, that you're going to have return straight away. But that isn't the reality of the world we live in anymore. We live in a very much digital world. Your competitors are worldwide now. They're not just the ones in your local town or village. And therefore, your margins are squeezed. You're going to have to sell more than you did before. And you're not necessarily going to pay it off in month 2 or month 3. And that's something that I find a lot of businesses are burying their heads in the sand about, is they want to sell something for 10 quid. They're telling me that they need to sell 1,000 of those a month, and they've got 50 quid for marketing. I'm like, well, you want 10 grand of sales for 50 quid? Not going to happen. You're probably going to have to spend 50 grand in the first month to get the 10 grand of sales. You what? Yeah, that's how it works to start with, to get the traction.
I mean, even I think, I can't remember if this is a podcast or a video we did, but talk about some content creating people out there, and there's some really good content creating freelancers out there, and what they do is they will either advise you on how to research and create great content to promote your business, or they will do it for you. But each of the ones, and some of them are really shit, got to be honest, but that's the same for any industry, but the ones that I look up to, guess what? They all run paid for ads as well. They ain't growing their business by purely creating organic content. They are spending money. And
eye-watering sums of money.
Goodness me. I mean, well, you know, the Sculpted Vegan I'm a big fan of. And the amount of money she leveraged at the beginning, like literally borrowing off friends, putting on her credit card, that she'll talk about openly in her own podcast. It's like, holy shit. So we'll take a few risks, me and you, but we wouldn't have taken the financial risk that she did.
Her husband gave her a true wake-up call, didn't he? Because she proved that for every £1 she put in, she got £2 back, which for some businesses, 50% return, great, but when you factor in all your other costs, maybe that's not enough. But he said, if you approach someone on the street and told them for every £1 they give you, you could give them £2 back, what would they do? And she said, well, they would beg, borrow and steal from family and friends, go to that person and level up. And he was like, well, there you go. That's what you got to do. And we see a lot of businesses that are kind of, for want of a better phrase, pissing about with silly amounts and stupid budgets, and then wondering why nothing happens. And then, you know, we're fortunate to work with some clients that maybe do have budgets in the hundreds of pounds per day, maybe thousands per day, and they can look at the data and say, well, we're 1.7 up on that ad, or our return on ad spend for that one is 8. Let's put more money there. But it's not the same as someone approaching us who's only spent £5 on an ad and saying, well, there's no return on ad spend there. So no one's bloody seen it. And
I mean, we'll talk to businesses. We talk to businesses a lot, and a lot of them are bigger than us. You know, we're quite a small agency, and we've even done a video about how open we are with our numbers. When they say, well, what do you spend? We'll say we spend at the moment about £3,000 a month on advertising our business. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, a little firm like us in sunny Shropshire in the middle of England, we spend a minimum of £3,000 a month.
I'm going to say, yeah, minimum.
It's like, oh my God. It's like, well, that's what we, and touch wood, we're still here. And don't get me wrong, we don't always get it right. Sometimes you'll spend money and it doesn't provide a return. But I think if it's meant to be, if you've done your research and you're willing to learn and put the time aside to study the analytics, to plan and execute a campaign properly, then you might lose 100 quid here, 100 quid there, but you'll also make 1,000 quid here and 1,000 quid there.
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing it if we weren't up.
No, absolutely.
And I think something people need to factor in when you say that as well is, because we're a marketing agency, we make a tremendous amount of cost savings because we can do a lot of the work that other businesses would have to pay for. So our £3,000 ad budget is actually more akin to 8 or 9 grand when you factor in what we put in.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to similar to the kitchen story you had. He was in a similar industry. And after lockdown, it's like, well, actually, and he wants to cut back on his spend, like so many businesses did. It's actually, business seems to be going mad, so I don't need to spend. And it's sort of hard to argue against that. It's like, right, you get lots of inquiries, you're busy, and it's not costing any money. Bloody hell, happy days. I said, okay, well, you should always keep your marketing engine together. And he wasn't interested, so yep, fair enough. I've got better things to do. Then he called me 2 weeks ago. And to be honest, I never would have said he'd call. Because just, to be honest, male pride for anything, to come back and say you're wrong. But yeah, inquiries are dried up. I said, well, okay, now you will need to spend more to restart your engine because you didn't keep it ticking over.
So something that not many UK businesses do, but we're fortunate in the sense that we're connected with a lot of American companies and work with a business mentor that is as well. When you're in that situation, the answer isn't to turn off your marketing. The answer is to streamline your marketing. So And that isn't necessarily to spend less, but it's to look at it and go, right, which of these jobs, if I'm inundated with work, which of these jobs are the most profitable and the easiest for us as a company to do? And what type of people do I like working with? Mm-hmm. And then use your marketing to filter out all the rest. So suddenly you have a job book full of the right kind of work. And what you'll find is you'll be working the same amount as you were the previous month, but making 3 or 4 times more money and feel less tired for it. That is a really, really difficult concept to get across to business owners who just want to be busy, because inherently they're so used to the buzz of being busy that they forget that they could make more money for doing less. And everybody that's involved in that, be it staff, be it the customer, be it suppliers, are happier too.
Yeah. What's that Rich Roll paragraph I screenshotted and sent to you over the weekend? Just reading his book, Finding Ultra. Just a really, quite a powerful paragraph, I thought, where he realises that, he's trying to train for this ultra marathon, and he's trying to run his boutique law agency, and he wants to spend time with his family. And it's very hard to get, those 3 things in balance. And the thing that was suffering was the amount of time he had with his family. So he looked at his business and realised that most of his time was taken up by the worst kind of clients. So it's the whole 80-20 rule, isn't it? That, 80% of your clients will be, 20% of your clients will be taking up 80% of your time. And generally speaking, the ones that take up the most of your time are the least profitable. And so he canned them. He got rid of some of his customers. Now, I can imagine if we turn around to any of our clients and say, well, yeah, you need to sack some of your customers. You're saying you're too busy. You say you're not profitable enough. We need to look at the kind of work you're doing. And it's a hard thing to say no, but no is such an empowering word.
And we're in cull season at the moment, to be blunt. There's clients on our client list that, the money's lovely, but there just comes a point where they're not quite what you thought they were, or then they're no longer profitable, or their business direction has changed, and so things don't quite line up as they did before. And you really do have to be brave enough to say, okay, this would be better for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a business we know, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and they're looking for appointments to come into their facility and have a look around. And it took them 2 weeks to get back to a new inquiry. It turned out to be a mate of yours. And so he went elsewhere. And when I spoke to the business owner, it's like, God, we're just flat out, so many inquiries here. We're not even getting back to people on time and stuff. I was like, you realise that's a bad thing, but I don't think he did. He was like, oh, it's great to be so busy. It's like...
You're damaging your business.
Yeah, it's like, so you either need to hire more staff to deal with inquiries quicker, or another option, put your prices up so you get fewer inquiries, but you make the same amount of money for essentially doing the same amount or even less work. And he was bowled over by that.
Hey there, Evie at Codebreak here. Fancy top tips, marketing insights and awesomeness delivered directly to you? Sign up for the free Stay Hungry printed newsletter at codebreak.co.uk.
Oh, that's going out today.
Excellent. Evie passed her final exam. How awesome is that?
Oh, she's a legend.
Yeah, it's great. Fantastic.
She gets a lot of shout-outs on this podcast.
But it's hard because we've got business owners out there we know who are like struggling for business, and they'll admit it, and obviously some won't. But there are a lot of business owners out there who are always saying stuff like, "Oh, so busy, too busy." Oh, I don't. We need some work doing at home again.
I know what you're going to say.
Left a voicemail with someone. Took them 10 days to get back to us.
We've approached 7 different glaziers about resealing our French doors.
No, speak to Silent Glass. Speak to them.
Would they come out to us?
Speak to Phil. Phil with 2 L's.
They'd come out to us?
I think so. I think they go to Telford.
All right,
I just tell them to wear their body armour.
Yeah, there was a murder in our village.
Oh, right, okay. Right. It doesn't sound funny now. It just sounds like I'm totally insensitive.
Yeah, you are. You're an absolute prick. It's ridiculous. It's not a funny subject. Someone died, Andy.
Oh, no, I can't say snowflakes either, can I?
No, you can't say snowflakes.
No,
but
that offends some people.
Snowflakes,
ironically.
I find it offensive, and I'm not a snowflake. So,
are you a gammon? Is that the other one?
Absolutely not a fucking gammon. So,
is that a generational thing? I know a lot of my mum's friends are. They wouldn't know it, and they deny it. They just go on about snowflakes. But they are going to Spain 5 times a year, reading the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Actually, that pretty much sums them up, doesn't it? Do I need any other description?
Yeah. You'd be amazed how much traffic on our website comes from the Daily Mail website, so we should tread carefully.
Oh, fucking hell, really?
Yeah.
We even tell our guys now, if they're researching articles to share for clients, just don't bother
Avoid
sharing
it.
any from the Mail or the Sun. Actually, it's just not worth it.
Basically the same, aren't they?
Well, it doesn't sit well with our own ethics, I suppose.
No, that was deep.
Okay, well, it just suddenly went deep there.
So
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah,
a lot of business owners will...
deep dive, that's another phrase everyone's going on about. Go on.
If you tell me you're going on a deep dive or, what is it, solutions, I fucking hate the word solutions.
Everyone's doing a deep dive now, Joe. I think we should deep dive into something.
Yeah.
Like Deep Blue Sea. They took a deep dive, didn't work out well at all. The sharks got smarter, you see.
They've actually got 3 films out of
I
it,
know.
so-
And how often do you hear of a sequel that rates 0% and yet the third one gets 69%?
I'd put Karate Kid in that bracket.
2 is where he goes to Japan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, that was
it's
really shit.
terrible, yeah.
3 was better than 2.
Yeah.
Still not a patch. Actually, 4's with Hilary Swank, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's all right.
I didn't mind
I
that one
don't
so
mind
much.
the third because I think it follows on from the first. That it makes sense.
It's got the baddie with the ponytail, doesn't it? He was quite cool.
What is his name? Tony Silver.
God, blimey. I think I only saw it
And
once.
then the guy he employs, who's like the bad boy of karate, is called Mike Barnes. You like that, don't you?
What's funny about Mike Barnes?
You just like that. I know it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you haven't seen 3 more than the original, have you?
No way. But I'm a big fan of Cobra Kai, so I'm sort
When's
of
season 3 coming out?
next year at some point. So they've already confirmed season 4 as well.
You're joking. That's getting cocky, isn't it?
Well, the numbers must be amazing since they brought it over to Netflix. That's all I can.
So I told you we're season 2 of Bosch, and they've done, I think, 6. They've confirmed a 7th.
Who's the lead
and
actor in that? He's a very,
Titus.
Yeah,
Titus Welliver. But whenever...
he's a very distinctive looking man. That's
Yeah, he's pretty cool. You'll have seen him in lots of stuff, but you couldn't actually pin him down, one of those actors. But whenever my eldest daughter comes in and we're watching Bosch, you have to pause it because there's violence and swearing in it. And so on Amazon Prime, when you pause stuff, it comes up with the character and the actors along the bottom. And every time she comes, she goes, Titus. I'm like, no, it's pronounced Titus. And he's called Harry Bosch, but Harry isn't short for Harold, it's Hieronymus.
Is he very good at boiler installations?
Fucking hell. Or what did my friend say? He says, you go on about this Bosch a lot, you're really drilling the point home or something, some poor joke
really?
about Bosch being a maker of drills.
Is that in a WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I'm going to leave that group. I don't need it. I've got a lot to worry about.
My friend's WhatsApp group yesterday was boat jokes, all on the basis of this tanker that got hijacked / not hijacked.
I see people already going on about the SBS, yeah. Go on, tell me a joke about boats then.
Oh, well, it's really out of context because we were also talking about how shit Shrewsbury Town are at the same time.
Have they lost again?
Yeah. So it was like, you're very much like, oh, it's a real sinking ship and blah, 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 blah.
Hell, right.
The height of entertainment, you can tell we've had a lockdown this year.
Wow, right. Are you going to leave that group like I'm leaving mine?
Oh, I was really enjoying myself.
It's like the WhatsApp group where one of my friends is basically saying that the coronavirus is nothing more than a conspiracy theory. And I said to him,
What's it called? The Great Reset? Is
Yeah. And I said, no, I haven't got time to watch this 45-minute video about the Great Reset. I said, I'm trying to join the Flat Earth Society, but I don't think they're going to let me in because I asked him if COVID had pushed them over the edge. And yeah, he didn't like that. Didn't think that was funny at all. I was like, well,
Better than a sinking ship.
it's like, oh my goodness.
So do you want to know how I upset a podcast guest?
Oh, right, go on then. This is a guy from the same place where Ravishing Rue's from.
Yeah, Mike Grimberg from Minneapolis.
Is he ravishing?
Proofpoint Marketing. Just to plug him.
Imagine if you started that podcast.
Ravishing Mike Grimberg.
He's simply ravishing.
See, this might tell on my interview skills, but I've only ever got to the point where I could have made that joke with one podcast guest.
Is that the barbecue guy?
Yeah,
He was cool.
Like we really hit it off. I don't think Mike would have loved it, and I'll tell you why. So midway through the intro, playing. The
Mike
music,
could be listening to this.
well, he knows it happened.
Oh.
Midway through the intro, Mike starts telling us who he is, and I abruptly interrupt him because I realise he's wearing a Liverpool shirt. Now, in hindsight, I realise he probably thought, I'll wear my soccer shirt because then, UK podcast, there'll be something to talk about, and he'll probably appreciate that. Little did he know that last season Liverpool cheated Shrewsbury Town out of the FA Cup, and
I forgot about that.
I'm very sore about it.
God, yeah.
And it's compounded by the fact that most of my family support Liverpool. So I interrupted the podcast to berate him. I don't think the humour, my dry, sarcastic
no.
British humour translated. He was just like, "Oh my god, I'm under attack." But we settled into it, and it was all okay. He agreed that they cheated, so it's fine.
One of my favourite films of all time is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
And used to watch that at school all the time. My mates and
Who have you told to turn it up to 11?
Oh, everyone, and they obviously don't know what I'm on about because it was like made in like the 1800s or something.
This board only goes up to 10.
But there's a famous scene where one of the band is going through the airport security check, and it keeps beeping. It's basically because he's got like an aubergine or something shoved down his trousers, wrapped in foil. And of course, what football shirt's he wearing?
I was about to say, you know what football shirt he's wearing at that point?
Yeah, Shrewsbury Town.
So
Little did I know when I was watching it back in the 80s, that was a Shrewsbury Town
in the
shirt.
Salop Leisure stand at Shrewsbury Town, there's a massive banner across the back that the fans have had made.
Right.
Turn it up to 11.
You're joking.
No.
Fucking hell.
It's
that's
cool,
awesome.
isn't it? That's a cool little thing.
That's really cool.
That's your favourite football fact, surely.
That's really, yeah. You're still shit at football, though, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely wank.
So where are you in the league then?
1 point off bottom.
Bottom or like relegation zone?
Like the bottom. We're in the relegation zone.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's real bad. I think in 26 home games we've won 3.
God, I know nothing about football. Even I know.
He's got at the moment. If you plotted Sam Ricketts as the manager on a graph, he'd be the worst manager we've had in our modern history. It's not good,
Wow.
but also financially not easy to get rid of a manager at the moment. So
It's always the manager's fault, isn't it? That's why. It's never,
I prefer it that way.
never seems to be. Yeah, it never seems to be the player's fault.
Or the owner, never the owner's
So if our
fault.
business
Let's
goes
keep it-
wrong, is it always our fault?
No, we're the owners.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. I get where you're coming from now. Who is the owner of Shrewsbury Town? Is that the
Roland Wycherley.
Roland Wycherley, the vending machine guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he still involved then? Is he?
Well, there's a chairman now, an employed chairman.
Oh, Caldwell.
Brian Caldwell,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
But no, Roland's still involved. I think he's taken a lot of stick over the years, but you consider what the football club looked like when he bought it. Basically a stadium sinking into the river, no training ground, nothing. Now they've got a very good training ground, a nice stadium for their level. It's professionalised a lot. They're financially stable, which is probably one of only 10 football clubs in the whole 92 football clubs in the professional leagues that are financially stable.
Wow.
He's done a lot for the club. You know, you
I think
can't.
they could have won more than 3 games then, really. So we've gone from Bosch to Shrewsbury Town to Sylvester Stallone.
So I've got to bury your heads in the sand one about Shrewsbury Town.
Okay.
The season got curtailed last season, so cut short. And
I know what Cattell means.
yeah, I'm trying to explain for our American listeners what happened. So,
I'm sure they know what Cattell means as well.
yeah, but whether they don't know if it Premier League and Championship restarted, League One didn't. So when it stopped, it never came back. And that was an issue because you've got season ticket holders who have paid for the whole season. So the option was to get your money back, or they were going to build a wall of fame.
Get your money back.
With all the names of the people who had donated, with an idea that you're leaving your money in the club because we're about to go through some serious shit. No. That wall has never happened.
Apart from one little small violin stuck to the wall, is that right?
Yeah, well, that wall's never happened. And I also know of a marketing agency that offered to sponsor that wall, and nothing's happened. And I would argue that by not communicating with last season's season ticket holders what the hell's going on, that is at risk of burying your head in the sand. That is bad PR.
Wow. Why? I mean, I can sort of understand, and I know, when I was younger, got into quite a bit of debt, and I can remember sort of going through those days where you bury your head in the sand. So I can understand why, as a business owner, there's a lot of things. I mean, there is some stuff that sometimes I look at my list of tasks for the day, and I'm like, I could easily just I'll get onto that tomorrow. And that's why, reading things like Eat That Frog really helped. I prioritise my tasks, and I know what has to be done, and I know the best way for me to do it is by getting rid of the stuff I really don't want to do at the beginning of the day. I want to eat that frog at the beginning of the day, because I know if I leave it to the end of the day, it will get left till tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow.
Yeah, so to give a good example, I will have a look at the P&L of the company every morning and make sure any outstanding transactions are reconciled, because as the director of the company, it's important to know financially where we are, but it's also boring as hell.
Yeah, I'll leave all that to you.
But one of us has got to, and that's a good example of that kind of task that
And yeah, well, you've got. I don't know what the solution is about with your marketing, about saying you can't bury your head in the sand. If you're there sat there at the end of October thinking, oh yeah, marketing, yeah, I'll get onto that after Christmas. Oh, I'll have lots of time at home over Christmas. Oh, I'll get onto this in January. You will have competitors that aren't waiting until January. They'll be on the. They'll be thinking. Most of my competitors, yeah, they're gonna be sitting on their asses now till January. Talk about a time for me to strike. That's what someone will be thinking.
And it's not a strategy. Leave it to January is not a strategy. I know, because I can see the impressions, how often our business gets seen. And if you're saying you're quite happy for your business not to be seen for 3 months, you're mad. It's just not. I understand if you're a micro business and there's only so much you can handle and word of mouth really works for you. I completely respect that.
Apart from putting your prices up.
Yeah, but I completely respect that's what you're doing. If you're a B2B SME or B2C SME and you think you can take 3 months break from your marketing wasn't doing its job properly in the first place, because you would know you can't. You'd be too scared to switch it off.
Yeah. I wonder if the famous phrase about word of mouth. It's a cure for everything, and it is the best form of advertising. Of course it is, and we love referrals from our clients, because that referral is going to be more likely to convert because they're going to be similar to your existing clients, and that's great. But would we ever put all our eggs in that basket? Would you really? Because it is lovely. One, yep, they're going to be more pre-qualified, and two, it doesn't really cost you anything. So of course word of mouth is brilliant, not denying that at all. But if your sole marketing strategy is word of mouth, oh yeah, I do such a good job, all my customers refer me, it's absolutely fucking madness. Because I guarantee even the happiest customer, their first thought every day isn't, oh, I must help Andy and Joel, oh, I must get a referral for Andy and Joel.
Yeah.
They've got stuff of their own lives to worry about. And things like loyalty, referring on customer loyalty, again, and I've said this quite a few times, people are loyal to themselves first. So even your happiest customer, if you're saying, well, I'm going to put my entire livelihood, I'm going to put my children's health, education, whatever it might be, in other people's hands and not pay for it, you're going to face some uphill battles. Or you might get to your business goal, but it will take you 10 times longer than it could have done if you'd coughed up a bit.
Yeah, and you'll know the type of person you're talking about there. It's the type of person that never bothered to get life insurance, or never bothered to get income protection insurance, or doesn't subscribe to the software they need because they've got a dodgy version from 2010. And you'll see the character traits in them, or they're the person that's not on a service plan with their garage because they'd rather just get it done as and when. And that kind of behaviour comes back to bite you. It probably looks more expensive up front, but long term, a boiler plan, that's a good example. I would suggest most people should be on a boiler plan, because when a boiler goes wrong, it's really bloody expensive. If you plan ahead for that eventuality, you're sorted when it happens. And we see that with marketing. I think something I see you say a lot, actually, and it's in quite a lot of our content. Marketing is food, not medicine. If you're losing sales, trying to turn that traction round will cost you way more than having done it in the first place. Yeah,
absolutely. I wish I'd said that. I don't think it was me, but it's very good.
It's in some of your posts.
Is it? Bloody hell. Must be Georgie who wrote those. But yeah, that's absolutely true. It's a real shame. You see, I see a lot, especially the past couple of years, because of things like Wix and Squarespace. A lot of the time now I see that people are like building their own websites. Now I understand it is a lot easier than it used to be. And sometimes you can end up with a pretty good looking site and one that works pretty well and responds properly on a mobile. That's great. But I've got to be honest, I've yet to meet a business who would have been better off doing it themselves. They might have an okay looking website, but they would have been much better off paying someone to do it. Yes, it would have cost some money, but in the long run, it will have saved them a fortune and made them more money.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike Grimberg had this right. When does this need to pay for itself? Or better yet, how much do you expect this business to pay you in the first 5 years? And if let's say the answer's £500,000, all right, how much are you willing to spend to make sure it does? And that includes your website, that includes your office, that includes your marketing, and it's just everyone's being way too short term. They're looking at how much is it going to pay me this month. Yeah. Well, the reality is, if you're just starting, or this is an entire new segment to your business, or you've never done marketing before, month one isn't going to pay for itself.
I spoke to a really nice lady in the health and fitness industry probably a few months ago, and her website she built herself. It was okay, and she was quite proud of it. I know it like cost her sleepless nights, but rightly so. It was pretty cool. I said, how long did that take you? And she worked it out, and roughly speaking, it was about 100 hours. I said, do you know that a decent web guy or girl could probably have done it in 10 hours and done a better job? Now, again, the website was fine. It wasn't really bad, but it was as good as it could have been. And it was 10 hours. So you think, right, okay, paying a web designer for 10 hours of their time versus 100 of your own. And I said, okay, well, how much do you charge an hour? And she told me, I'm like, well, holy shit.
You could have done 100 classes in that time.
Holy shit, what you could have done with those 100 hours, what you could have charged for your 100 hours, the money you could have earned, and then given a fraction of that to a web guy or girl.
Yeah, but
Can I say web guy, or do I need to say and girl every time? Or you just say web person?
Yeah, web developer.
Web developer. Developeress.
Brilliant. He thinks he's funny, and we have to have these little messages midway through.
Deep down, I know I'm funny.
Deep down, he hates women.
Like that Bruce Kirby? Oh, I can't remember his name now. Is it Bruce Kirby, the actor? The one who was playing the straight-laced DJ in Good Morning Vietnam, and he brought the horn, and he was determined that he was really funny, but he wasn't. No, you've not seen Good Morning Vietnam.
I have, but
Bruno Kirby. That's it. He was in Godfather Part 2. He was the chauffeur in Spinal Tap. Funnily enough, but he died. God, in his bloody 50s. Not that long ago. Really sad. But yeah, it was just. So one of my friends, when we worked at ITV together, he was more like Bruno Kirby than I am, and he really thought he was funny, and he's a lovely guy, but he wasn't that funny. So one year for his Christmas present, yeah, we bought him one of those horns.
Did he get it?
He got sick of us squeezing the horn. So you'd be there like trying to do a serious report, and you'd hear someone just grabbing Alan's horn.
So I'll tell you a story about me in a minute that's quite similar to that and probably reflects terribly on me.
Oh dear.
Hey, it's Georgia at Codebreak. Thanks for listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. If you're hungry for more, don't forget to check out all the free marketing content on codebreak.co.uk.
We're back.
Right, do I want to hear this story?
Yeah, it involves someone burying their head in the sand. And
Oh, there we go. Excellent.
so
Bring it back to the point.
when I was at school, not proud of this, but basically I got called in by what was known as the head of year then to say I'd been bullying somebody, and for the life of me I couldn't figure out how I'd been bullying this person, because I got bullied at school and I would be mortified if I thought I was actually bullying someone. And they said, well, he's not happy, blah 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 blah. Oh, all right, I won't talk to him anymore. I'll leave him alone. And I did. That was that. Anyway, chatting to a friend from school who I hadn't spoken to for a while the other day, and I said, oh, do you remember so-and-so at school accused me of bullying? He said, yeah. I was like, well, I never got it. He was like, oh, yeah, you did bully him. I was like, go on. He's like, well, he was the kind of guy who always had an opinion, always had something to say, always putting people down or patronising them, but then he would just, like, assume that was okay, bury his head in the sand, and anything that came back his way, he was massively offended by. And I was like, well, what was it I used to do? He's like, well, you know, he loved football. Yeah. He's like, every time he said something you disagreed with, you showed him a red card.
Oh my God.
So
I can't call him a snowflake.
I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you know, he'd just like say something. It might be answering a question that the teacher's asked or whatever it might be. He's like, and you'd just be like, red card.
Wow.
And
bullying's changed a lot.
And then they said it got to the point though that when the teacher told you to shut up, someone else in the room would say red card.
Oh no.
He said so you'd end up with like a horde of people going red card, red card, red card.
Like people always pressing Alan's horn.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure this lad's fine, and I still don't think it's bullying. If you can't cope with that, you're going to struggle with life.
God, yeah.
But
you have to watch Good Morning Vietnam now.
But yeah,
deep down in my heart, I know I'm funny.
red card.
Right, what are we talking about? Ostriches marketing.
Yeah. So I guess what's your takeaway for businesses that are saying things like, well. Yeah, no.
Marketing is like a
There'll
car.
be people listening to this, because it's free content, they'll be listening to this going, I'm going to listen to that podcast because it'll make me better at marketing. But I'm not going to do anything about my marketing till January. Or I'm not going to do anything about my marketing till the end of November. Or what would you say to them?
So marketing is like a car. if you buy a car and it runs really well, like you launch a new business, it's all nice and shiny and sparkly and everyone's really excited. If you don't look after that car, no matter what the weather, no matter whether you drive it lots or a little or none at all, if you don't look after it, it'll start underperforming. And you need to invest into that car, and you keep your car engine ticking over. Like, so lockdown, I didn't get in my car for 6 weeks. Now, guess what happened when I turned the ignition on?
Flat battery.
Yeah, a little bit of a battery there, which is quite a nice car, but not much at all. I was like, oh, shit. And that's totally my fault, and I should have known better and paid enough for the bloody car not to drive it all for 6 weeks. So if you think you can just turn your engine on and off whenever you feel like it, that car ain't going to work for you like it should. And I imagine you've invested way too much blood, sweat and tears into your business to let some inactivity and prioritising other investments to spoil your dream, to spoil your livelihood.
Yeah.
Okay, now going deep again, Joel.
It was really good. I mean, the amount of businesses that approach us that are very established businesses, and we turn around and say, "Oh, how big's your mailing list?" And it's less than 1,000. That might sound like a big number, but trust me, if your mailing list is less than 1,000, you haven't got a mailing list.
Or what about the client who said 15,000? And what do you do with it? Oh, nothing.
Nothing. Well, yeah. You're not extracting the value from your business, and I don't necessarily mean pounds and pence. I mean, right, how much data do you hold that's useful for your business? If you do hold that data, how are you actioning on it? If someone buys something from you, what other products are you offering them that you know they'll be interested in based on that purchase decision? If somebody gets to your checkout on your website, what upsells do you offer them? Do you offer them the case for the product that they just bought? Do you offer them the dog bowl for the dog food that they just bought? All the things that add value to your business without you having to do any extra work. And there's that many businesses out there burying their head in the sand that it blows my mind. I mean, we look at it with our own business. What happens when someone books a discovery call? What's the next thing they get offered? Does that add value to either them or to us? That you've just got to kind of really dissect your business. And I guess the only way you can really look at it is look at what the big boys do. Mm-hmm. So if you buy something from a reputable online store, what's the process it takes you through? What things do they show you on that journey? What emails do you receive? What happens when it comes in the post? And if you're e-commerce, look at what's the most effective way of replicating that process. Or if you're a service-based business, what happens when I guess Moneypenny, they're a brilliant example of a good service-based business. So what happens when you ring them up? How do you get treated? How long are you held on hold? What music do they play when you're on hold? What happens?
James Bond, I hope.
Well, yeah, you would hope so, but I very much doubt they've got the license. But that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't just bury your head in the sand. You've got to keep things ticking over. But also, what are you doing? If you are super busy, what are you doing to make yourself less busy but more profitable? And that's marketing too.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think a lot of people out there who are in a good place, and they think, well, and they certainly think they're in a good place because they are so busy. Oh yeah, I'm not taking. I spoke to someone the other day, a client of ours. Just fully stacked now. Something ridiculous to like March or April next year. I was like, oh my god, put your price up then.
Well, we both know a business owner that was fully stacked till March or April next year or whatever, and wasn't taking a salary. What are you doing? That's not a viable business. Yeah. Maybe we should do a podcast about that because we're seeing it quite a lot, aren't we? That people are literally killing themselves when they don't need to be. Yeah. I mean, to work less and earn the same or more money, that's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's not like, oh, am I taking the piss here? It's like, no, as long as your clients are happy and you're delivering what you said you would when you said you do it by, they're happy days. Yeah, the only time you should question yourself there is if you're saying you're going to grow your business to £5 million and you're comfortable at £500,000, you're letting yourself down. Otherwise, if clients are happy, you're getting paid, you're taking the money that you want, do everything you can to make sure that the business continues to do that. Yeah. So, well, there we go. That's next week's podcast.